Ladies and gentlemen, big concerns and several unanswered questions hours after a pile of cash was found from the house of Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma after a fire brigade was called in by the family for a fire emergency. The Allahabad Bar bench claims it was bundles amounting to 15 crore rupees. But the truth is, it has not been made public. The amount has not been made public by any other source. As anger simmered amid public and legal veterans, Supreme Court stepped in. The collegium ordered for an in-house probe. The judge was transferred back to Allahabad High Court. But the Bar Association of Allahabad has shot back a letter to the collegium saying they are not a trash bin. In fact, Harish Salve has said this: one simply can't allow him to continue as a judge. If he is unfit for Delhi High Court, why transfer him to Allahabad High Court? Raising larger issues like simmering, now boiling issue of corruption within the judiciary and the collegium system being on trial, calling it a threat to democracy and openly calling for a judicial watchdog. He isn't alone. The calls for accountability of the judiciary has been simmering from within the top echelons of judiciary itself. The separation of power, which is seen as a constitutional bedrock itself, now coming under the scanner, some politicians even questioning it. Kapil Sibal among those questioning the process of appointment, which has been criticized for an opaque collegium process, lack of a clear selection criteria, limited external oversight, favoritism and nepotism. And of course, this has been the center of a political debate between the Prime Minister-led ruling BJP as well as the Congress. But not for now. This even proceeds. Remember also, in question is the action against the judge who enjoys constitutional immunity. So the only way he can be removed is either he resigns or a process of impeachment is initiated, which, by the way, is a political process. However, here's a big example. Since the independence of India, not one Indian judge has been impeached till now successfully, despite processes of impeachment being initiated several times. Big questions, several unanswered questions really. But there's a breaking news that's coming in at this point. The top court seems to have finally broken its silence, and the Supreme Court has said the transfer is not linked to the probe. The Supreme Court saying that the transfer of the judge to Allahabad High Court is not linked to the in-house probe. The in-house probe is a separate matter, and the matter is being examined by the Chief Justice of India, 4 senior judges, and the letters have been sent to concerned high courts. A response, according to the Supreme Court Collegium, has been sought from Justice Varma as well. As I said, big questions, unanswered questions. I'm being joined at this point by Vikas Singh, former ASG and senior advocate for Supreme Court, as well as Khushbu Jain, who's an advocate for Supreme Court. Manish Bariyar, who's a political analyst, should be joining us shortly. Subhash Jha joins us, who's an advocate, as well as Imran Ahmed Ali, who's a lawyer as well as political analyst. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me. Well, let me just straight start with you, Mr. Vikas Singh. I mean, you've also been at one time the president of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Now, here's the big question that everybody is asking. Huge amounts of unaccounted cash that seems to have been recovered from a judge, a Delhi High Court judge. What's stopping a police inquiry? Why not have a police inquiry? I mean, everybody wants to know the truth. I'm sure even the court wants to know the truth. From the High Court to the Supreme Court to courts, and legal veterans from across the country want to know the truth. Why not have a police inquiry?
So Sneha, the point is not of in-house inquiry will not be the end of this, will never be the end of this. In-house inquiry is only to initiate the process, because there is a need to insulate the judiciary from false cases or from set-up cases, So everybody, even Kasab, got a proper trial in this country, and that's the rule of law in this country. A judge has to be kept at a slightly higher pedestal because there could be vested interests who would be wanting to harm the judge as well. So whatever he has in his defense, there should be a preliminary inquiry to find that out. If he is not able to justify, then, as you said rightly, the whole gamut of activities will happen, which will be the police inquiry, the ED, the CBI, whatever. They should step in. But before they step in, this inquiry is only to ensure that the person obviously has not been framed, number one, and number two, he has no answer, and number three, that he has to go. So probably if he is asked to resign, then obviously he will, the protection which a judge has will automatically go away, and all the consequences in law should follow in this case as well.
No, but Vikas Singh, here's the point. I mean, before I go to my other panelists, I just want to ask you one more question. Everybody is saying they want to know the truth. Why are you suspecting that the police will only act against a judge negatively? The truth will come out. The whole country goes with a police probe. So if you also want the truth, if you also want that a judge should not be framed, is the police, are the law enforcers of this country incapable of doing so?
So that's the other problem in our system. So what has happened is that the constitution makers wanted to give a certain amount of immunity to certain constitutional functionaries, which are Supreme Court, High Court judges, the CEC, the CAG, etc. They have been given this immunity. Now, because of this immunity, this impeachment process is a political process. So if the judge refuses to resign, in this case, in spite of our in-house inquiry finding him guilty, then the only legal way out would be to impeach him. And impeachment somehow has not had success so far because it is a political process where the court has no role to play. So it's a bit of a complex kind of a situation, but the complexity will not, be a justification to do away with the protection for the judiciary or the protection to these high constitutional offices. At the same time, having said that, I feel that this is definitely a time for a massive exercise being undertaken to weed out corruption in the judiciary. Because if there are people around, I know of so many judges. We all know especially in the bar, we know of judges who are, whose people are going around in the corridors and asking for that they can get anything fixed, etc. Now, if there are people roaming around openly, they can definitely be nabbed and ultimately the matter could lead to the particular judge. But that exercise has not happened so far, and that should happen according to me.
Okay, so let me just get in Subhash Jha at this point. Subhash Jha, here's a very simple question. We've just heard Mr. Vikas Singh speak about one thing, and that is the system needs to be cleaned up. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. But look at what's happening right now. The judge has been transferred. The judge has been transferred from Delhi High Court to Allahabad High Court. And so what happens? If there is a problem with this judge in Delhi High Court, how is it okay? How is he okay in Allahabad High Court? That's what the Allahabad Bar Association has written. Why transfer him to Allahabad Bar Association? Now the Supreme Court has said that is a totally different case. He has been transferred in a totally different case, and yes, his appointment or his transfer to Delhi High Court has been a subject of contention. It has come in the past as well, but that's a different issue. Big question. I mean, how is this judge going to be hearing any case?
You're absolutely right that if a judge is not fit for B court or Delhi High Court, how can the same judge who was earlier transferred from Allahabad High Court to this court, his initial appointment in 2014 was in Allahabad High Court as a puisne judge. He was transferred in 2021 to Delhi High Court, and within a short span of, say, less than about 4 years, he seems to or appears to have had stashed or cash, which is some channel says 10 crores, some channel says it is 15 crores. So one doesn't know. But let me tell you, even if it is 10 crores or 15 crores, it is
Bar
only tip of
Association
the
says
iceberg.
15 crores. I mean,
The
let me just
problem in the
state that
judiciary-
straight. No channel knows it. No source knows it. The only person, claim that really has come out is from the Allahabad Bar Association. But please go ahead, make your point.
Assuming that it is 15 crores or even 20 crores of rupees, in my assessment, it is too meager a figure for a High Court judge. The kind of corruption what we are seeing, I'm into this practice for the past 4 decades. Since 1986, I was the one who was responsible or had participated that time, a junior lawyer, in boycotting 6 judges of the High Court. For the first time it happened. It never happened thereafter, because then the Supreme Court started the process of insulating itself from the bar. Fearing that, you see, look at what happened after A.M. Bhattacharjee, our former Chief Justice of Bombay High Court. Now, he was also one of the judge who was boycotted later on. Then the matter traveled to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court went on passing judgments after judgments. Matter traveled to the Supreme Court and to the Constitution bench. And even the Constitution bench passed judgment saying that the bar shall not take recourse to strike. Now, what else the bar can do? The bar cannot throw out any judge.
Subhasha, one question before I go to Khushbu Jain. Subhasha, my one question. You are saying this judge is unfit currently. I mean, we are not saying he is a convicted person, but he is definitely, his image has to be cleared right now. He's got a tarnished image. There are questions around him that need to be answered either ways, whichever way it goes. But Subhasha, should a police inquiry, should police have taken over this case?
No, there has to be investigation by Enforcement Directorate. It has to be investigation jointly also by the CBI. Let us not involve the police. I think that the government must
fine. ED,
rise to the
CBI,
occasion.
Police,
And
whatever.
Every judge
Are
has
you
to
okay with this process of an in-house probe first?
Yes. It has to. No. In-house is a farce. In-house inquiry, when the government doesn't want to do anything, it embarks upon to institute an inquiry, commission of inquiry. If the Supreme Court doesn't want to do anything, it will say that we will hold in-house inquiry. We have seen in the past what happened to the in-house, so-called in-house inquiry.
There you go.
This is a farce. Now, this must stop.
There you go. Khushbu Jain, please come in. Look at what Subhash Jha is saying. It's not a journalist, it's not the Aam Janta, it's not the public saying it. Subhash Jha is saying this whole process of an in-house inquiry in the name of immunity is a farce. How do you respond to this?
Okay. First, we talk about...
I have a different view over here.
Okay, the question is to Khushbu Jain. Imran, I'll just come to you in a bit.
Okay. So I have a little different view over here. I would say that, see, when you talk about in-house inquiry, you need to bring in the lacuna, what is there in the in-house inquiry. You have to understand, one has to understand, I'm keeping aside from the case in hand. I'm just saying that for any judge, the position and the power that he's sitting with, there would be one set of people who would not be happy who have lost the case. And this can continue. So for people who have lost the case, it's very easy for them to keep on putting on blames and cases against the judges that, this has been done, this is done for so-and-so purpose. And for that is where we have given certain immunity to certain positions which are there, which are constitutional positions, are being given and are given as per constitution. And that's where the logic comes in. If you're unhappy with the way in-house inquiry is happening, I think that's where the changes can come in. But if you're objecting to that part itself, you're opening a Pandora box for everybody and anybody who's unhappy with the kind of judgment that has come up. They will go and complain against that we are not happy with the judgment and there has been some criminal act, some involvement of something that we have lost the case. So this is something for that part is where we are going ahead and giving
Subhasha, this is the argument that comes in every single time, that there needs to be a system to protect the judge to function in a way fearlessly. But why does a judge need an environment to function fearlessly when anybody else can? I mean, you have an army court of inquiry, but that's very different from, say, a in-house procedure that goes on right now. It's absolutely fluid. It's absolutely non-transparent as well. Nobody knows the constituents. Subhasha, do you agree with what Khushbu Jain says?
No, absolutely not. Now, every judge has to be made accountable, be it he is a judge of the High Court or Supreme Court, they have to be made accountable. And what are certainly they are required to be protected as well. But nevertheless, let us not lose sight of the fact that for a common man to start the investigation, we are not saying that he should be sent to jail immediately, but there has to be investigation in the matter. Now, 10 crores or 15 crores rupees is not a small amount. Although the kind of corruption what I'm seeing or I have been informed or reported is too small, this amount is too small, the kind of corruption which is going around in the country. So this is too small amount, but nevertheless, this 15 crores rupees for a common man like me or for others in the panel is too big an amount. And therefore, if 10 crores or 15 crores is found in at the residence of a judge, then that is enough. What else? 13(1)(e) of the Prevention of Corruption Act, you can prosecute any individual, any person. Look at what is the requirement in law to set the criminal law into motion or an investigating agency into motion, existence of prima facie case. And this is more than a prima facie case. This could be a case of if this goes uninhibited. Now, he can have an explanation for 10 crores or 15 crores of rupees. That's a different issue. We are not saying, nobody is saying perhaps not. I'm not, that's not the argument that he should be straightway sent to jail. He should be sacked. No. He deserves a right to be defended.
Absolutely.
He must have a right. And those who are...
Absolutely.
But then there has to be investigation for sure.
Every citizen of this country must have a right, that is for sure. But Khushbu Jain, my question to you, and this is legally to understand. Now, there are these allegations against this judge. There's an in-house probe that has been set in, which will take its own due course of time. Meanwhile, is this judge going to be hearing cases and deciding verdicts? Legally, is that allowed? Khushbu Jain. Not this judge, any judge for that matter against whom an in-house hearing has been ordered for.
There is no harm in he continuing it if the probe is on, but then the committee can always take a decision that whether you have to understand that what I would not be the right person to answer that. Let me excuse myself from this.
Okay. All right, Subhasha, do you want to answer that? Can a judge against whom an in-house committee has been set up, technically, is he allowed to continue hearing cases and give verdicts? I mean, this is a question everybody would want to know.
Absolutely. He has no right. He should be removed, or rather he should be... How a person who is placed under suspension, it is similar to that. He will not be in a position to handle any matters. He should not be hearing any matter. If he is facing an inquiry, at the same time his functioning as a judge is something which is ridiculous proposition. He should not be hearing till he is cleared from the inquiry. And there has to be now... See, this is only, as I've said, this is only tip of the iceberg. Let the government of India ponder over this issue. There is rampant corruption in the judiciary. I'm saying it openly on the national channel. And if you want to give you example, I will give you examples of how corruption takes place and in which cases they take place. It is not running into 10 crores or 5 crores.
I mean, Vikas Singh himself, a former ASG, spoke about peddlers who openly go ahead and claim about judges. So he's already cited an example. But Imran Ahmed Ali, if I can come to you, how do you look at this? How is the opposition looking at this? Because let's face it, appointments, removals, all of this has been at the heart of a huge political discourse, corruption, political discourse, political alliance, hegemony, all of these things have been a huge political debate in India. How are you looking at this?
First, let me take the wider question here. Why do these constitutional safeguards exist? They exist to avoid malicious prosecution. So should these exist or not? If I'm to answer in a yes or no, yes, they should exist, because you cannot set an example of one person and cast an aspersion on the entire judiciary of the nation. In terms of separation of power, in terms of the pillars of a democracy, the judiciary one would be one that is standing the most upright. How I would see it, I cannot say how the opposition in general perceives it or what they wish to do with it, because these are my personal views. I do not represent a political party. However, we need to understand that the process of impeachment is there in the constitution. And when we consider who is to impeach, we need to understand 251, that is nearly 50% of our members of parliament are those who have registered cases against them, and out of that more than one third are regarding severe offenses, rape, murder, crimes against women. Now these are the same people who are to cast aspersions and discuss and deliberate and impeach a high court or a supreme court judge. The police, when we talk about whether the police could have interfered at the moment, absolutely not. The Supreme Court swung into action on day one, within 24 hours, transferred the judge. And also, we need to understand a prior approval of the Chief Justice of India is required. Without that, the police cannot, the ED cannot, the CBI cannot. So whether the Supreme Court did enough, as of date, within 24 hours, it swung into action and it did enough. What I say, absolutely, the matter has to be inquired and a person is innocent till proven guilty. And this also, I do not say that he is innocent. However, a fair trial is what everyone, like a gentleman before me said, even Kasab got a fair trial.
Absolutely.
So
Everybody has a
we
right
need
to fair
understand-
trial. Here, nobody is, but nobody is gunning for the victim. Nobody here in this case is saying that he's a convict. But the larger question is, and it's not about this one case. There are a series of such cases that have happened. I mean, if you're talking about an in-house inquiry, there was a 2008 cash at judge's door. And it was that in-house inquiry actually, if you look at it, the in-house inquiry had gone on to then refer it to a CBI probe. And it was in 2021 that the special CBI court framed charges. And it was during this CBI probe that it was found out that it was meant for another judge and not for the judge where the cash was found. So no one is saying that he is a convict. But the question largely here is, are we okay with the process that's in place? But an interesting point by you, Manish Barrier, come in at this point. What Imran Ahmed is saying, what are you talking about? If you are not going to give the impunity to judiciary with the manner it has, who are the people who are going to then take them to justice? They already have corruption and other charges against them and are not independent in any case.
Good evening to you and good evening to my co-panelists and viewers. I would disagree humbly with him. But then you are all asking these questions to lawyers. So you need to ask to someone. In fact, Subhashji is very forthright when he's speaking. But I have a connection with lawyer in the sense I am the grandson and son of a lawyer and husband of a lawyer. So, but I'm not a lawyer. So I think I'll be able to really answer this in a context. See, judiciary and military, these are two holy cows that needs major surgery. And it's not hidden from anyone. I've been brought up in an environment where, as a lot of other panelists were saying, corruption has been the norm in judiciary right from the root in civil courts to up. They need accountability and major accountability. You cannot, and I find a bit of disdain in which Mr. Imran was talking about parliamentarians in terms of cases. Number of cases are false cases, and we cannot really, judge them on the kind of, because politicians are subject to a lot of false cases also. That cannot be a criteria to really, safeguard judges in that manner. I think they are citizens of the country. They are working. They are getting paid, right? Why should we ascribe anything, special importance to them? I don't think so. Civil servants are working. They are under Lokpal. Rest of the other people are also they are finding a lot of facilities out there. They need to be scrutinized even more, in fact. And we need to learn from European countries. There are several checks and balances in terms of appointments, in terms of promotions, and they are not done by judges. They are done by independent set of people. And I think time has come in our country to really have a much more professional judiciary. And it's not hidden from anyone that it is one of the most inefficient departments of the country. Right, look at the number of case loads, no technology coming up. There's so many things I can go on and on.
One of the most
I think
inefficient
major revamp
departments of a
required.
country is a bit much, Manish Bariyar. We will not be able to say that because inefficiency
But
and
this
a
is my
lackluster
opinion. I feel
performance
very
is
strongly
inherent
about
to
it.
many departments
That
and many
judiciary has
sectors,
not been
Manish.
kept in
Let's
touch.
face that fact. But Manish, you have put out a a very spirited argument against the judiciary and for the politicians. It's very interesting. But let's face it, parliamentarians have their immunity as well. It's not like they are free for all.
Absolutely not. Any case which is there,
Imran, you have your
they
hands
are
up very
being
quickly.
faced. See, a number of them have gone to jail. Isn't it? Lalu Yadav is an example, and so many others. But how many judges have gone to jail? You please tell me.
When I agree to certain points, although Mr. Manish didn't agree with me, but I agree with certain points of his. I do not agree where Mr. Manish specifically says that you give that kind of an immunity, you give that kind of an understanding to a politician who is a elected member who is in parliament. However, when it comes to the judiciary, you cast an aspersion that he is guilty on day one. Now, I say that the same set of standards need to be between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. However, there is a due process. No political party in power or no governmental agency can circumvent that. When there is a political constitutional mandate, there's a constitutional framework. You live in a country which has rule of law. You have to follow the law. And that is how, if there is an impeachment process, it is to avoid. And the fact that impeachment hasn't happened, that cannot be put on the judiciary. It is completely on the legislature that the impeachment can happen. And you let those people resign before they were actually impeached.
Imranji, that cannot be a reason for judges
10
to
seconds,
be corrupt,
Manish Bariyar, and I'd like to go to
that
Khushbu Jain after that.
impeachment is a very long process, and I'm not saying that we should not follow rule of law. I'm saying that there's a major reform required, and there is a change required in the entire process of it also. Because I think this is giving them unfair advantage in terms of corruption, and in many cases, I think accountability is missing. We must learn from other countries also on this, how they have managed it very well.
Khushbu Jain, if I can come in. Khushbu Jain, if you can come in at this point. Here's a question. Lots of legal veterans now asking a very simple question that has been asked several times, from Indra Jay Singh to Kapil Sibal to Mr. Salve, all of them saying one thing: the collegium system and the appointment of judges is under the scanner, is on the test. Some even saying, have we lost the independence? As a lawyer, how do you look at this?
No, I am absolutely in sync with all the three senior advocates that yes, there has to be change that should come in. All the laws that we are talking about, all these procedures that we are talking about is the time when there was, a constitution was made, we just got the independence and things have evolved with that. But I would say with time, things need to change. Things need to evolve, and we need to understand that when it comes to appointment of judges, or when it comes to not just judges part, but all other places wherever there is a lacuna when it comes to which lacks accountability, which lacks transparency, or which has an aspect where favoritism can be part of it, I think that those systems need change, and they should change on an immediate basis, and none of us should have any question to be asked on that part. And I'm absolutely in sync with all the three lawyers there, and many more who are talking about the same. Coming on the point of the questions that all of you are talking about, let's not presume and assume somebody guilty over here, and let's go on the larger issue rather than just one person's issue, whether cash found, not found. The facts of the case are yet to be discovered. It's just the little bits and pieces newses that we are hearing here and there, and we should refrain from producing or pronouncing somebody guilty over here. But yes, the need when it comes to making judiciary also accountable, there should be an aspect where there is no that's something which is required, whether in-house inquiry should be foolproof, whether it should be time-bound, whether after that what should be the procedure, there should be any tightening done over there.
He's not even an accused at this point.
Yes, these I think should be done.
Pronouncing him guilty, he's not even an accused. So, I mean, there's no doubt about that, and therefore this whole question is also coming about the whole process. Because there have been in the past, Khushbu Jain, and this is interesting, we were just going through, my team put this together, We've gone through processes where there have been impeachment against judges in the past. There have been umpteen processes where there have been CBI, ED probes whatsoever, whether it be even a former Supreme Court judge. We have Justice Ramaswamy's case, everybody remembers, where an impeachment motion was initiated, but, it did not get through. Soumitra Sen, for that matter, proceedings started, but he resigned before the completion. You have Ganguly, the MP High Court judge, inquiry cleared him, the impeachment process was dropped. So there are cases like this where impeachment process have happened. But there's never been a process where the impeachment has been completed. Is that indicative, Subhash Jha, of one, the necessity of ensuring that there is separation of powers to ensure judiciary can work the way it can, but also brings about the lack of an internal accountability, what some people are saying now, get in a judicial watchdog?
See, we have, I think, unnecessarily given too much of protection to judiciary, which they do not deserve. And look at this, treating them as holy cow, etc. What has led to? I'm again telling you that this 10 crores or 15 crores is only tip of the iceberg. It is too small an amount. And if in 2021 he was transferred to Delhi from Allahabad, in 4 years, if he has, or 3 years, he has made this much of money, it's too small an amount. His colleagues must be laughing at him that you made a little, too less amount. And then what happened? So therefore, what is required in my assessment is
let's just not cast aspersions at this point, because we really don't know
Accountability Commission,
anything
NJAC.
about this stack, as it were. So let's not get into those individual cases. But I get the larger picture that you're trying to draw about what seems to be a rampant corruption. Since you are a practicing lawyer, this is something that you are claiming. And we have Vikas Singh also, who has spoken of the same thing. I'm running short on time. Vikas Singh, if I can get you in at this point. I leave the parting shot with you, Vikas Singh. What are the biggest concern at this point as you see what's unfolding?
Institutions' integrity has to be maintained, but at the same time, the black sheep has to be identified. So I feel it's a very complex situation, because if you leave it to the executive completely to decide who's corrupt and who's not corrupt, then you can understand, Sneha, that any judge who is delivering judgments against the government will be the first to be picked up. And that again will be a death knell to the independent functioning of the judiciary. So it's a little bit of a complex issue. It's a more of a in-house, course correction which the judiciary should take. And I'm sure under the Justice Sanjiv Khanna, probity will be the, because ultimately there was another collegium which transferred him from Allahabad to Delhi. And there is a huge suspect on why this transfer happened in the first place. Because Allahabad was not a ground where he could have made this kind of money. So the collegium which decided to bring him here actually also, shows that there is something wrong in this transfer that happened. So ultimately, this will all, since the judiciary today is in the dock because of this lack of money found in the judge's house, I'm sure this is a good time for course correction and introspection. And I've been a president of the Supreme Court Bar, and I feel equally responsible to be part of this course correction exercise. And both the bar and bench should, sit together and devise ways and means to purge the judiciary of all these people who are bringing a bad name to the institution.
Vikas Singh, let me just be very honest at this point. I would have been extremely nervous if these comments were made by someone else. But because you are the former ASG and you've been a Supreme Court Bar Association president yourself, I'll take that in. Manish Barrier, I believe you have your hands up to say something. But Vikas Singh, I think we're totally out. Okay, Manish Barrier, very quickly. Very quickly. Yes, Manish Barrier.
Right now, judiciary is of the family and friends, for the family and friends, and by the family and friends, and nothing else. At the cost of contempt of court, these people cannot say. They have to tomorrow become judges. They can't say anything. But I'm telling you, this is what judiciary is right now.
Okay, I think the judiciary is watching the debate. The judiciary is watching the public discourse. There are a lot of questions that have to be answered, and the questions are not only from the public that look at the Supreme Court as a citadel of justice, but also from the legal veterans, as I have been mentioning here. Thank you very much, all of you. Subhashra, I'm sorry, I know you had your hands raised, but we're totally out of time. But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for your perspective. As I said, I think everybody will be watching how this unfolds, and we have to see just how this goes forward. But meanwhile, lots of unanswered questions. Time for a very short break. On the other side, news and updates.